Chosen one, listen very carefully, because heaven is pulling back a curtain right now and exposing something you were never supposed to see with your natural eyes. But God saw it, angels witnessed it, and now the truth is rising to the surface whether this person likes it or not. Someone just exposed what they did behind your back, and it is truly disgusting. You may not know the details yet, you may not have the full picture, but your spirit has already sensed it. That sudden heaviness you felt recently, that strange tension in your chest, that unexpected shift in your mood, that uncomfortable intuition telling you to pay attention, those were the first ripples of exposure. Someone's mask has slipped. Someone's intentions have leaked out. Someone's true character has been revealed. And heaven is saying, "My child, this exposure is not to hurt you, it is to free you." There is a person who has been smiling in your face while poisoning your name behind your back. Someone who acted supportive in your presence but resentful in your absence. Someone who clapped for you publicly but competed with you privately. Someone who pretended to care about your growth but secretly hoped your blessings would fail. Someone who kept you close not out of love but out of strategic advantage, emotional access, energy extraction, or spiritual monitoring. And chosen one, that person's true colors have now been exposed. Not because you caught them, but because God forced their truth to surface. Heaven says, "I will never let you walk with an enemy pretending to be a friend." This exposure didn't happen randomly. It happened because your spirit has elevated. You outgrew the frequency where their deception thrived. You matured in ways that made their manipulation impossible to hide. You stepped into a spiritual clarity that made their shadowy intentions tremble. And as you rose, the truth rose with you. People can only pretend at levels beneath your discernment, and your discernment is too sharp now for darkness to camouflage itself. That is why this person slipped. They said something they didn't mean to reveal. They acted in a way they didn't expect you to notice. They reacted with jealousy when they thought no one was paying attention. They exposed their intentions in a moment of frustration, carelessness, or envy, and heaven made sure you sensed it. God says, "Your spirit caught what your mind didn't understand yet." The betrayal wasn't small. It wasn't innocent. It wasn't accidental. It was intentional, rooted in jealousy, insecurity, or hidden resentment. They spoke about you in rooms you weren't in. They mocked decisions they didn't have the courage to make themselves. They shared parts of your life that were entrusted in confidence. They tried to turn others' opinions against you. They twisted your words. They played both sides. They told lies with your name attached. They planted seeds of doubt about you in someone else's mind. And they did it thinking you would never know. But heaven heard every whisper. The angels assigned to you recorded every conversation. God saw every hidden attempt to damage your character, your peace, your opportunities, or your relationships. And now, heaven is exposing it because the season of pretending is over. Exposure always comes before elevation. God will not let someone contaminate the spaces you're about to enter, poison the blessings you're about to receive, or corrupt the relationships God is sending your way. So he exposed them, brutally, clearly, unmistakably. You may not have confirmation in the physical yet, but you feel it in your bones. Their energy toward you shifted. Their words slipped. Their behavior changed. Their tone revealed something. Their silence exposed something. Their distance made everything obvious. God says, "I allowed it to slip so you could finally see." This is someone who benefited from your kindness, your loyalty, your generosity, your openness, while secretly harboring envy. Someone who needed you, but never appreciated you. Someone who wanted your presence, but hated your progress. Someone who leaned on your strength, but resented your resilience. Someone who took your advice, but mocked your wisdom behind your back. Someone who wanted access to your spirit, not because they valued you, but because they feared losing the advantages you unknowingly gave them. And now that God is elevating you, their hidden emotions are boiling over. Jealousy cannot remain calm when favor rises. Resentment cannot stay silent when blessings intensify. Insecurity cannot hide when confidence emerges. So their heart exposed them. Their mouth exposed them. Their behavior exposed them. Their energy exposed them. God says, "I let their own actions reveal them. so that you would never blame yourself again. That disgust you feel in your spirit right now, that disappointment, that moment of, how could they? That shock? Those emotions are not weakness, they are clarity. God is lifting the veil from your eyes. You are seeing their spirit, not their personality. Their true intentions, not their performance. Their real loyalty, not their rehearsed kindness. And heaven says, do not cover what I am uncovering. This exposure is meant to protect you. You were about to step into a season where this person's hidden malice could have hindered you, where their jealousy could have sabotaged connections, where their resentment could have poisoned blessings, where their gossip could have distorted opportunities. So God exposed them now, before they had the chance to cause more damage. You didn't lose a friend, you lost a hidden enemy. You didn't lose loyalty, you were freed from false loyalty. You didn't lose support, you escaped sabotage. God says, what they did was disgusting, but what I did was deliver you. And here is the truth, they didn't mean to expose themselves. They slipped. They forgot to pretend. They forgot to hide the jealousy. They forgot to control their tone. They forgot to adjust their expression. Their mask cracked under the pressure of your elevation. Heaven made sure of it, because nothing hidden can stay hidden around a rising chosen one. This exposure is not the end, it is the beginning of clarity, boundaries, healing, cleansing, and spiritual protection. God is saying, now that you know, everything will change. Not because you will confront them, not because you will expose them, not because you will retaliate, but because God has shifted your spiritual position away from their influence. Heaven is saying, this exposure was your exit, not your revenge. The moment their true colors surfaced, even slightly, the spiritual contract between you and them ended. God withdrew his covering from that connection. He removed his hand from that relationship. He allowed the truth to leak through their behavior so you could separate your heart before the next chapter begins. But make no mistake, what they did behind your back was far uglier, far lower, far more intentional than you want to admit. They didn't just gossip, they tried to reshape someone else's perception of you. They didn't just vent, they tried to undermine your character. They didn't just express concern, they planted poison. They didn't just slip, they acted from a place of envy that they refused to admit even to themselves. And heaven says, I revealed their secret thoughts because they started acting on them. You may not understand how deep this betrayal went, but your spirit does. That heaviness you carried without knowing why was their energy contaminating your atmosphere. The sudden confusion you felt? Their jealousy stirring behind your back. The random discouragement that hit you out of nowhere? Their resentment trying to attach itself to you. The emotional drain you couldn't explain? The spiritual tension created by their double-minded presence. What they did wasn't small. It created spiritual disturbance. They were speaking against your name, whispering about your decisions, criticizing your blessings, mocking your progress, telling people you weren't as strong, as stable, as smart, as blessed as you appeared. Some of them even enjoyed hearing about your setbacks because it made them feel better about their stagnation. God says, their heart was never with you, their advantage was. And that is why this exposure had to come now. You are entering a season that requires clean hands, clean energy, clean circles, clean alignment. Someone with a contaminated heart cannot walk beside you anymore. Someone with hidden resentment cannot be allowed near your next opportunity. Someone who envies your anointing cannot be trusted with your destiny. So heaven broke the illusion. God allowed the disguise to tear open, not all at once, but just enough for you to see the truth. Notice how subtle it was. A tone, a slip of the tongue, a weird reaction, a sudden shift in behavior, an unguarded moment where their true face appeared. That was God exposing the spirit behind their smile. And the moment you sensed it, heaven said, good. Now you see. You are not overreacting. You are not imagining it. You are not misinterpreting. Your discernment is accurate, painfully accurate. That disgust you feel? It is spiritual rejection, your spirit rejecting their spirit. That disappointment you feel? It is clarity, your heart realizing you expected loyalty from the wrong person. That heaviness lifting? It is freedom, the release of someone who was draining you silently. God says, they showed you who they are. Believe it. What they did behind your back reveals the truth about their soul. They resented your growth because it highlighted their refusal to grow. They envied your favor because it proved God's hand was not on them the way it is on you. They gossiped about you because your life gave them something to talk about. They twisted your words because honesty would have exposed their insecurity. They competed with you because your presence made them feel small. They betrayed your confidence because your vulnerability gave them power. They pretended to love you because your absence would expose their lack of importance. You see, chosen one, they didn't want relationship, they wanted access. They didn't want your well-being, they wanted your energy. They didn't want your growth, they wanted your dependence. They didn't want your truth, they wanted your silence so their image could remain clean. But now that their actions have been exposed, heaven says, you owe them nothing. No explanation, no justification, no emotional cleanup, no second chances, no spiritual reattachment. Exposure is closure. And whether you confront them or not, the relationship is spiritually over. Something in you already detached. Something in your spirit already pulled back. Something inside you no longer feels safe with them, and that is God speaking. Because chosen one, exposure is always the final mercy before separation. God reveals people before they can destroy what He is building in you. Before they can sabotage the opportunity coming. Before they can interfere with the blessing He's preparing. Before they can interrupt the healing He began in your heart. Before they can contaminate the elevation He is bringing. Let heaven be clear. If they stayed any longer, they would have done real damage. This is why God didn't wait until later. This is why the exposure came suddenly, nearly out of nowhere, at the exact moment you were stepping into a new spiritual season. Heaven needed you to see so you could release. And here's the part that will shock you. The exposure you sensed was only a fraction of what they actually did. Angels witnessed the rest. And God will reveal the rest only as needed for your healing. Not for revenge, not for ego, not for drama. Just enough for closure. Heaven is saying, my child, this betrayal is not the end. It is the beginning of your cleansing. Because now that the snake has revealed itself, God can remove it from your garden. You are being protected from emotional manipulation. You are being protected from spiritual interference. You are being protected from subtle sabotage. You are being protected from energy drain. You are being protected from undeclared enemies disguised as companions. The exposure is painful, but the freedom will feel divine. And you will soon recognize that this person's removal was one of God's greatest mercies. Because what's coming for you next requires loyalty, purity, alignment, and elevation, and they carried none of these things. Heaven is preparing you for relationships that match your calling, connections that nourish your spirit, circles that celebrate your growth, people who love you without envy. And before God brings the right people, He must expose the wrong ones. And chosen one, the exposure has only just begun. And heaven is preparing to reveal even more truth, not to overwhelm you, not to wound you, but to purify the space around your destiny. God is saying, I am not done showing you who people really are, because your next level cannot be built on illusions. The person who just exposed themselves was not the only one operating with a double tongue, a double heart, or double intentions toward you. They were simply the first to slip. Their mask cracked under the pressure of your elevation, and the others who have been acting with similar hidden motives will soon follow. But before heaven exposes the rest, God needs you to understand the depth of what this first person has been doing, because their behavior wasn't a momentary lapse, it was a pattern, a lifestyle, a habit. And the spiritual contamination you felt around them wasn't imagined, it was the result of repeated toxicity, jealousy, resentment, and manipulation directed at you over time. God says, this person's heart was rotten toward you long before their actions became obvious. They spoke behind your back more times than you can count. They dramatized your mistakes while hiding their own. They exaggerated your flaws while romanticizing their weaknesses. They compared themselves to you constantly. They belittled your accomplishments in conversations where you were not present. They used your name to form connections, to appear knowledgeable, to gain sympathy, or to manipulate others. They sowed seeds of doubt about you subtly, not enough to make them look suspicious, but just enough to distort someone's view of you. They were strategic in their betrayal, careful with their deception, calculated in their gossip. And the only reason they slipped is because God forced the exposure. Heaven says, I let them reveal themselves because your spirit outgrew the lies. You were beginning to rise too high for their influence to remain undetected. Their negativity could no longer attach to you the way it used to. Their jealousy could no longer hide behind fake encouragement. Their resentment could no longer disguise itself as concern. Their insecurity could no longer hide behind humor, sarcasm, or silence. So they slipped. They revealed a glimpse of their true feelings. A look, the tone, a comment, an unusual reaction. And that small crack in the mask was enough for your discernment to see the darkness behind it. God says, I needed you to see the truth, because you would have kept loving them from a place of blindness. And your love is too powerful, too healing, too rare to be wasted on someone who resents you for simply existing. You were giving them emotional access, spiritual access, energetic access. You were letting them sit close to your vulnerability, close to your softness, close to your dreams. And they were using that access not to support you, but to keep you spiritually weakened. They fed off your openness. They enjoyed your confusion. They quietly celebrated every time you questioned yourself. They found comfort in your moments of weakness. They offered support selectively, only when it benefited their image or when it made them feel superior. They wanted you stable enough to be useful, but never strong enough to surpass them. God is saying, they loved the version of you that doubted yourself, but they feared the version of you that is rising. And that is why they betrayed you. Betrayal is always rooted in fear, envy, or insecurity. This person feared losing control over the narrative. They feared losing their emotional leverage. They feared the day you would no longer need their validation. They feared your spiritual awakening. They feared your upcoming elevation. They feared the strength God was building in you. They feared the confidence returning to your spirit. They feared your transformation because it made them irrelevant. Heaven says, their betrayal was not personal, it was spiritual. The enemy used their insecurity as a doorway. Their jealousy became a spiritual crack. Their resentment became a spiritual invitation. Their double-mindedness became a spiritual foothold. And because they refused to heal, refused to grow, refused to confront their own darkness, they became spiritually contaminated and began contaminating the environment around you. That is why you felt drained after talking to them. That is why you felt anxious when sharing your dreams. That is why you felt uncertain after receiving their advice. That is why you felt tense in their presence even when nothing bad was happening. Your spirit was detecting their spirit, and the mismatch was too loud for heaven to ignore. God says, I exposed them because their presence was sabotaging your growth. But here is the part you must understand now. This person didn't mean to expose themselves. The exposure was spiritual, not accidental. Their words slipped because heaven loosened their tongue. Their expression shifted because God removed their mask. Their jealousy showed because your elevation applied pressure. Their resentment surfaced because your healing exposed their wounds. Their behavior cracked because your anointing was rising. They didn't expose themselves because they became careless. They exposed themselves because God commanded the truth to rise. Heaven says, I will not allow deception to sit next to your destiny. And chosen one, what they did behind your back, the words, the manipulation, the betrayal, was disgusting not because it hurt you, but because it revealed how deeply corrupted their heart had become towards someone who only wished them well. You did not deserve their dishonesty. You did not deserve their envy. You did not deserve their competition. You did not deserve their unspoken hatred. You did not deserve the lies they spread. But God allowed the exposure because it is time for you to evolve beyond relationships that cannot grow with you. And now that the truth has surfaced, the enemy has lost a major foothold in your life. The spiritual drain has been broken. The emotional sabotage is ending. The hidden warfare is collapsing. The atmosphere around you is cleaning itself. You are stepping into clarity, and clarity is always a precursor to elevation. Heaven is preparing you for people who match your loyalty, your heart, your purpose, and your calling. But before the right people enter, the wrong ones must be exposed and removed. And chosen one, the exposure is not finished. The next revelation will shock you even more. Not to break your heart, but to finalize your freedom from people who were contaminating your destiny in silence. God is saying, now that the first mask has fallen, the rest will follow. This is the season where the truth refuses to stay buried. This is the season where every hidden intention rises. This is the season where heaven cleans your circle without asking your permission, because your purpose is too important to be suffocated by deceit. What is coming next is not another betrayal, it is the full unfolding of what was happening behind your back. Heaven is preparing to show you not just who this person is, but why their spirit turned against you, how their jealousy grew, what they said, who listened, and what God saved you from without you even knowing. Angels have witnessed conversations that would have shattered you emotionally if you heard them in real time. They saw the person you trusted most downplay your accomplishments, dismiss your feelings, and twist your character. They watched them use your pain as entertainment, your vulnerability as leverage, and your kindness as proof of their superiority. But God shielded you from hearing it before you were strong enough. Heaven says, you are ready now, not to hear everything, but to finally understand the truth. And the truth is this: they were not your friend. Not spiritually, not emotionally, not energetically, not in loyalty, not in intention. They were attached to you because you made them feel powerful, validated, important, in control. They admired you publicly but resented you privately. They took from you more than they ever intended to give. They smiled at you while feeding others lies about your character. They comforted you while secretly hoping you would remain wounded. They supported your dreams only when they felt those dreams would not eclipse theirs. But the moment your elevation became undeniable, the moment God lifted you higher, the moment your healing shifted the balance, their heart turned. Not because you changed, but because your rising exposed their lack of growth. Heaven says, your breakthrough triggered their betrayal. And chosen one, here is the part that will stun you. Someone around them already knows what they did. Your betrayer exposed themselves not only to you indirectly, but to the wrong person. Someone who saw the jealousy, someone who overheard the gossip, someone who caught the tone in their voice when your name came up. Heaven made sure their darkness leaked in front of someone who won't keep quiet forever. The exposure has already begun to spread. And soon, the truth will reach you in ways you never expected, through sudden conversations, accidental reveals, subtle comments, or someone simply telling you, I need to be honest about something I heard. But God says, before the physical confirmation arrives, I am preparing your heart to receive it without breaking. Because what is coming will confirm everything your spirit already knew, and it will validate every uncomfortable intuition you tried to ignore. You will realize you weren't crazy. You weren't overthinking. You weren't dramatic. You weren't insecure. You were discerning. Your spirit saw the toxin before your mind accepted it. And the moment heaven exposes the details, you will feel relief, not rage. Closure, not chaos. Peace, not pain. Because this final exposure is the completion of your detachment. God says, you are not meant to carry this person into the next elevation I'm preparing for you. And this elevation is big. It's not just emotional growth. It's divine positioning, spiritual increase, purpose alignment, destiny expansion. You are stepping into rooms that require loyalty. You are walking into blessings that require purity of heart. You are entering a season where one wrong voice near you could distort the assignment God is giving you. Heaven refuses to let a snake follow you into a garden God is planting with promise. That is why the exposure had to be disgustingly clear. So you would not feel guilty when God separates you permanently. So you would not cling to someone who was secretly cutting you. So you would not question whether distancing yourself was the right decision. God revealed the truth to erase your doubt. But the final twist is this: their exposure is actually their downfall. Not because God is punishing them, but because their own heart has betrayed them. They will lose access to your energy. They will lose the comfort of your presence. They will lose the emotional support they quietly depended on. They will lose the spiritual covering they benefited from without acknowledging it. They will lose the stability your connection provided. And they will lose the role they once played in your life. Heaven says, their betrayal pushed you into a higher version of yourself, and they cannot follow where you are going. The disgust you feel is not bitterness, it is spiritual cleansing. It is your soul rejecting what was poisoning you. It is your spirit detoxing from someone whose intentions were contaminating your peace. And once this final exposure is complete, something powerful will happen. Your spirit will feel weightless. Your intuition will sharpen dramatically. Your confidence will return fully. Your creativity will explode. Your motivation will reignite. Your peace will deepen. Your blessings will accelerate. But because betrayal always breaks the chains you didn't know were holding you back. Heaven says, their exit is your elevation. And soon the truth will reach your ears in a way that cannot be denied. You will hear what they said. You will learn what they did. You will understand what heaven protected you from. And instead of pain, you will feel gratitude. Because God didn't let you walk blindly. He didn't let you build with someone who was secretly tearing down. He didn't let you trust someone who was quietly betraying. He didn't let you love someone who was poisoning your name. God says, I exposed what they did behind your back, because I refuse to let anyone block what I'm about to do in your life. And chosen one, what's coming next is so divine, so elevated, so powerful, that this betrayal will soon feel like a necessary doorway to a destiny too great to be shared with the wrong heart.